How's it going, guys? Cameron here with Canadian Gamer. Now today we're going to take a look at my recently completed Genesis collection and maybe share a few stories along the way. Now the first thing I want to point out before we get started here to any new subscribers on the channel, if you're getting involved with the Genesis, you want to get yourself a CRT. Now this one's about 11 or 12 inches. Not a very big TV, but easy to move around. I think I paid 20 bucks for this not that long ago, a couple of months ago. And it's a must-have because before I had this, I had an older flat screen, an LCD TV in here, and it just wasn't doing the old Mega Drive, or shall I say the Genesis, justice. So now that I've got the CRT, things are much better. And as you can see here, I got a little buddy here. So this is the high definition model. I've actually got 3 Model 1s kicking around. And they're all different variations, so maybe if you guys want, I can do a separate video showing off the different variations of the console I have. It is quite interesting for sure. So the next thing I'll do is I'll show you guys my games. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Now first and foremost, I did buy a Genesis Mini. I've never played it, to be honest with you. I just have it on there as a conversation piece, if you will. But the meat and potatoes of the collection, obviously the games. Now the goal here, you're not going to see too many heavy hitters in my collection, and the reason was, when I started this collection, I wanted it to be sort of like an oddball collection, meaning most of the games are not actually on the Genesis Mini, and not only that, it's like a working man's collection, a blue-collared collection, if you will. Most of the games are relatively cheap, usable collection. Games I can pull off the shelf and not only play, but games that have been played quite a bit before I acquired them as well. Most of them are not mint condition. Some of them have damaged labels. That's the way I wanted it. I did not want to have this as a show pony, if you will. I'm not naming names, but there are people out there in the community that they're laying eggs. They're sitting on all these high-profile games that are in their cases, and they don't really play their games. So this is again a working man's collection. And so the first game I want to show you guys, I don't want to spend much time on it. This is the not for resale version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Excuse me. Now, a lot of people might think this is the more elusive copy of the game, but all the contrary. This is the more common one. The one you want is the one that does not have the not for resale sticker on it. That's the one that's more uncommon, because this one here came with the actual console back in the day. Now this is the first print, because there's a couple of different label variations for the Sonic the Hedgehog. This is the nicest looking label variation as far as I'm concerned. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 doesn't really need any introduction. Now, one thing I do want to also mention as well when you're collecting for the Genesis, there's 2 types of boxes and label variations as well. There's the old school black label, kind of like the NES, and then there's the red label. The red label games, unfortunately, they're prone to bubbling right up here on the top, and they do fade as well. Whereas the red labeled games, as you can see, my copy of Outrun here is just mint. There's not much you can really do about it. If it's a red labeled game, in most cases there really isn't a black labeled variant, with the exception of a few games. Obviously NBA Jam, dirt cheap, really good game, usable game again. Play it all the time. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. Mortal Kombat 2, MK3. You could get Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 for the Genesis. I don't have it, but I don't play these games enough to really care that much. Primal Rage, not a very good port of a really good arcade game. Vector Man, I may do a video on this game in the future, sort of comparing this to Donkey Kong Country. I know what you're saying, what do those games have in common? Believe me, there's a few things that they actually do have in common. X-Men 2, The Clone Wars. Swords of Vermilion, earlier Genesis RPG. Light Crusader. a real grimy, dingy copy of Green Dog. This one here is the Menacer. I don't have the light gun, so I can't really play that. Toe Jam and Earl, Panic and Funkatron. I haven't really gotten into that game, to be honest with you. Ranger X, a really difficult game, but graphically it's a really impressive looking game. A guy in the community, Baltimore Retro Gaming, actually sent this to me a while back. I really do appreciate that. We've got Kid. Oh yeah, I picked this up recently here. Physical copy of Kid Chameleon. Awesome game. Jurassic Park. Really good graphics for the Genesis. Really good. Jurassic Park Rampage Edition. Again, if you get far enough into the game, you'd be surprised what they're able to do with the Genesis hardware. It's pretty incredible. Probably my crown jewel of the collection here, Outrun. I ended up going to like the dingiest area of Ottawa on like a Friday night in the pouring rain to meet some guy who was selling this for like $20 through the classifieds. I'm telling you, the stories that you go through to pick up video games, it's crazy. Pitfall, the Mayan Adventure. This is probably the best port of this game, next to maybe the Sega CD. And then here we got Pebble Beach Golf, Lynx. It's actually not that good of a game, to be honest with you. I'm thinking about taking that out of the collection. Oh, Caesar's Palace, terrible game, terrible. I bought that in Kingston, Ontario recently for like $5, and man, it wasn't even worth $5. That's the worst game in my collection. That's coming out soon. That's coming out. I did pick this up in Kingston as well. This is really good. PGA Tour Golf 2. It's a real good version of PGA Tour, albeit the best version of the Genesis. I think it's PGA Tour, I want to say 95. I'm on the lookout for that one. I haven't found it yet. Another funny story. A while ago, maybe a year ago, I drove out to Cornwall, Ontario, Canada. Again, another sketchy place in Ontario that I don't go to very often. And then I went downtown, which is the worst part of Cornwall, and I went to a pawn shop. And I walked in there, and they didn't really have any Genesis games. They had Earthworm Jim, on a shelf behind the counter for like an absurd amount. And I went to the back of the pawn shop, and they had this old dresser. It was like a dresser you'd have in your bedroom. And then I started opening up the drawers, and I swear to God, Road Rash was sitting in there, and my eyes jumped out like a little kid in the candy store. I couldn't believe it. I drove again like an hour and a half out of my way to go to Cornwall just to hunt for games. And I thought I was going to come away empty-handed, and I opened up this drawer and I found Road Rash. And there's no price on it, and I said to the guy, what do you want for this? And I think he said it was like $5. I'm like, oh shit. So I grabbed it, and for $5, hell yeah. Another game I picked up in Kingston here was this game here, and it was a pleasant surprise. I'm really happy to have this in my collection. And that's Chuck Rock 2, the son of Chuck Rock. Now this is a core game, core design. And one of the coolest things about this game is the soundtrack. It's like they call it an acid jazz. So I can't even explain it. You have to play the game, but the original Chuck Rock, a lot of people would say this is better than the original Chuck Rock, but I know there are quite a few people that would say otherwise. I picked this one up in Brockville, Ontario, Canada. A couple of months ago. Not a good game, but I thought it was a cool cart variation, not a cart variation, but the shape of the cart. Some of the Codemasters had this weird shape to it. So this is obviously what is it called? Cosmic Space Head? I don't know. It's not a good game, but I thought it was really oddball to have in the collection. So I picked this up for, I think, what was it, $15 in Kingston. So this is the original Turrican. Mega Turrican is the golden goose, the unicorn on the Sega Genesis. Turrican, while it is uncommon, it's common enough. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg. This game's tougher than a cheap steak. Oh my god. So yeah, cool to have that in the collection. Now this here, the Game Genie, it's twofold. Not only obviously can you use it to cheat your way through games. But you can also pop a PAL game on top and feed it through your North American Genesis, and you can sort of cut out the middleman as far as the region lockout is concerned. Also, as well, I find if you have a game that maybe isn't working well, and you're blowing into the cart and it's just not reading on your Genesis, I find a lot of times if you put the game into the Game Genie and then plug the Game Genie in, it'll help read the games better. That's just my experience. This is a game that sort of shot up in price recently, and that's Haunting, starring Poltergeist. I picked this up about a year ago off the classifieds as well. I think I paid 20 or 30 bucks for it, maybe 20 bucks. So I wouldn't say it's a survival horror game, but anyone who's played it, you know what I'm talking about. NHL 94, probably the greatest sports game of all time. Used to play that a lot when I was a kid. I don't play it anymore. I just have it in here for sentimental reasons. Jungle Strike, not a very good game. I used to play it when I was younger. I went back to it recently. Can't really get into it. I love this style of the Genesis cart though, I really do. Got an original copy of Phelios. There are some repros floating around out there. This one's legit. Paid about 20 bucks for that recently. Columns, really good puzzle game. I actually prefer this over Tetris. Out of This World, one of my most favorite games of all time. I prefer the Genesis version over the Super NES. The frame rate is a lot better, but the Super NES has the soundtrack, that's for damn sure. Flashback, The Quest for Identity. Again, another amazing game that runs better on the Genesis than it did on the Super NES. So, with that being said, let me head back to the games room. I just want to show you guys, I do have a few boxes that go with some of these games, and then we'll sort of wrap up the video from there. Alright, so we'll sort of wrap things up here. Now, I wanted to show off a few things here regarding the boxes that I do have in my collection. And I sort of want to help out any collectors out there that are thinking about getting into collecting for the Genesis or the Mega Drive. So, when I started collecting, I thought, I want to have all my games, in the box, complete in box, and I gave up on that real quickly. And the reason is because around 93, Sega quickly realized it was more cost efficient to go with the cardboard boxes like the Super NES with Nintendo than to have these clamshell cases, which are way better. So as you can see here, the lone cardboard box that I do have is for Primal Rage. And again, this was around 93 when Sega sort of moved away from the black labels like I talked about earlier in the black boxes, and they went with this sort of a new revitalized look for the Genesis. Again, they're trying to compete with the Super NES. So you have the, again, the red label, which goes with the Model 2 Genesis. So, yeah, I'm not crazy on it. It is what it is. You can see here, again, Sonic 2. It's got that old school sort of black box, which I prefer. Now, if you're real picky, if you want to be like John Hancock, and you're out there collecting some of these games like my Out of This World, this is in mid shape. It's got what they call a hang tab, which is what the game would hang on. At retail, it would hang on the peg on the stick in the showcase at Kmart or Zellers or Walmart or wherever the game was sold. So it's hard to find the games with the hang tabs. Most of the hang tabs, see, this one's broken off. Now, obviously, I don't have a lot of cases, but this is probably the most obscure oddball case I have in my collection. This is an old rental case. It's actually Jumbo Video for Flashback, and it's the original case, and a lot of times that's how they came from the rental store. So it's like, you can see this is like a totally different sort of way it was printed off. You can see here, it's almost like a comic book. I don't know if this is how it was with the retail game, but you can see here it's just really odd. Yeah, you got Strider too. Strider is back. So pretty wild stuff. Comic in there as well. For any of you hardcore Flashback, The Quest for Identity fans, if if you want to know more about the game, the lore of the game, you have to have this this booklet. And it's cool too. You can even see this is probably from the early 90s. I didn't put those in there. Those are the original codes for the game as well. So I thought that was really cool as well. So that's all I got to say about that. You know, if you're looking to get a complete in-box collection for the Genesis, good luck. It's really expensive. As you can see, I gave up on the dream early on in my pursuits for all of my games I bought that I showed you earlier. As you can see, you know, I ended up getting about 9 games into it, and I stopped looking for a complete in-box. Alright, so that's going to do it for my Sega Genesis collection overview. I hope you guys enjoyed this small little video, just giving you a taste of my collection. Anyways, guys, until next time, thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.